What are some non-traditional paths to taking or finding jobs in a scarce job market, right? From you guys' opinion, like, we're also focused on, let's go to this website. Let me go talk to Mr. X who worked for this company and so on and so forth, and using our, kind of small networks. But do you guys have any thoughts, any feedback, any tips on, non-traditional ways to find job opportunities in a scarce job market? I'll just let anybody just jump in. That's kind of a tough question, but I want to get you guys' feedback on that.
Well, I wanted to only start because you brought up about the federal government. What's interesting is that probably 95% of my business is the federal government. Probably 100%. Let's just 100%. When we talk about multi-million-dollar contracts, they're spread out all over the federal government. So yesterday, we started making phone calls to our clients to ask them what happens if you shut down. Do we get paid? Do I have to furlough my employees? What happens to us? So all yesterday I was nervous and upset, and I had to leave work. I think I left work around 3 o'clock. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I went and sat on my couch and turned on CNN just to see what they had to say all day about the government shutting down. And my 14-year-old son came home, and he was like, "What are you doing home?" And I just looked at him. I said, "The federal government is shutting down," and a tear came out of my eyes. And I never like for my children to see me upset about work because they don't understand. But I couldn't, a tear came out. And I pulled myself together, and he's like, "What's the matter?" And I was like, don't worry about it. Let's go out for pizza. So I went and sat back down on the couch, and I said, "You know what? The government might be shut down, but God's still working." And I turned off the TV, and I said, I can't worry about what the government does because God is the one that got me all this, not the federal government. They may be the people who write the checks and send it over to the bank, but at the end of the day, it is God that has done all this for me. So I came today, and I didn't even know they shut down because I didn't bother to get up at 12 o'clock to find out. But I said all that because I think someone needs to hear today that it's going to be all right, and that wherever you are and whatever is happening with you, God is still working. The trees are still falling with the leaves, with change coming. Things are still happening. So God is the master of my destiny. And if to answer your question directly, create something that does not exist. Meaning, no matter how small it may be, if you want to have your own business, create something that does not exist. For instance, I had an employee who came to visit me one day, and she said, "I'm thinking about having, put lunches and stuff like that together that people can take out to Chastain Park, where they can take a nice basket." And I was like, "That's a great idea. Why haven't you done it?" She just hasn't done it. And so I hear people talk about things constantly of what they would like to do, but they just don't do it. You have to move it from your head to your heart and just do it. And when you start doing what you have a passion for, it comes together because God is the one that's behind it all. So if you trust in it and you believe in it, the abundance is there. So figure out what is it that you wish that you could have, but for some reason it doesn't exist at the store, or you can't get it because it just seems too expensive to order online. That's where a lot of the, when you think about Google and all these other things, this is stuff they made up. Someone just made it up. Why can't you do it? You can. So instead of, knocking on doors, trying to find jobs that, aren't really there, create it.
Just to complement what you were saying, I think from a opportunistic perspective, we see jobs as, tangible places we go, and we get pieces of paper, or we get, we call them checks, or we get, money wired into our accounts. And we've bought into the only currency, that we trust as being these promissory notes we call money. But we really figure out that there are all types of currencies. Currency is anything that flows. Oxygen is a currency. If you don't think oxygen is a currency, hold your breath for 3 minutes, and you'll see how much you need it. Lakes flow, electricity flows. All these things are, currencies. So one of the things we define in the book, Kingonomics, is that real currency is actually intangible. And if you can embrace these intangible currencies, and I'll pick two actually. One is service. There's something about serving someone else and not expecting anything, in return. There's a strategy to serving inside of, different organizations. And I'll just be real transparent. Culturally, when we think about serving, we first want to serve inside of our black organizations, historically black organizations, and we rotate serving. We meet the same people. We do the same thing. We have the same conversations. But what if you served outside of your culture? What if you served outside of your comfort zone? What if you volunteered at a trade show or conference in the industry that you're interested in? Who knows? You may be, I had a young man in our last Kingonomics conference up in D.C., and he came to volunteer, and at the last minute, I assigned him to be with Mark Cuban. And so he had the opportunity to spend half a day following Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban is a human being. And as a human being, there was conversation, there was contact. He was serving in that position. He wasn't getting paid to be in that position. Can you serve 250 people? Can you serve in an organization where you are freely given of yourself? So when it's time for you to actually do something, people are supporting you because you've already served. Number two, innovation. Now, there's a lot of talk about innovation, and you're absolutely right, creating something that's never been done before. But you have to train your mind to be innovative. You have to expose yourself to things. I look back over the last decade and how we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars of going to trade shows and doing things and being in industries, meeting people, networking, being in private clubs, all of this stuff. And you're like, that's just a waste of money. But I have to maintain that level of exposure because I get comfortable in my ability to innovate. And so I despise now being in a room where I'm the most innovative. I want to be the dumbest person in a room. And I want to, when I say dumb, I want to use that in context. I use it to make a point, but I want to be the least informed person in a room, because what that says, I'm in a room where I can meet people that have higher levels of exposure. I mean, think about it. Steve Jobs, one of the greatest innovators on this planet, was also dealing with one of the most rarest forms of pancreatic cancer. The greater the innovation, the greater the pain you manage. So be careful what you ask for. But if you're going to actually create jobs, look at the innovative industries, from a global perspective and how you can apply that locally. These jobs are not coming back because companies have used the economic downturn as an opportunity to increase shareholder value by demonstrating that they can operate more efficiently. They don't have to have an MBA. They can use an undergraduate. They don't have to have a sales and business development team of 12 people. They can have 3 people over territory. We don't need executive assistants. You can write your own emails. And so a lot of those jobs are never returning, but there are also hundreds of thousands of new jobs that are being created.
Absolutely.
In the areas of, nanotechnology, telemedicine, healthcare, of course, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And for those of us that have children, we want to start steering our youth towards those innovative